What is going on, guys? It's Bub Slaps here with yet another video, and today I'm bringing you the Ultimate FPS Increase Guide for Battlefield 2042. This video will be aiming to give you guys the best FPS and visibility possible inside the game, along with making it as smooth and snappy as possible. With me running a NVIDIA 2080 Super graphics card, nothing too crazy. I was originally running anywhere between 60 to 80 frames per second, and after making these tweaks in this video, I was able to achieve between 130 to 160 frames per second depending on the map. There are also a couple of quality of life tweaks in this video to help with performance. There are multiple settings to choose inside this video, leaving full customization of your game options as well to really make sure that you guys can fine-tune the experience for your personal preference. So before we jump into the video, guys, if you could leave a like on the video if you appreciate the results. And speaking of results, if you can leave any questions or suggestions for other videos you would like to see me cover on this channel in the comment section down below, it would be deeply appreciated. As always, it is really fantastic to hear from you guys. Last but not least, guys, if you guys do enjoy the content, please do consider subscribing to the channel and pressing that notification bell. Whenever I upload a new or updated guide, you'll be suggested that video. With all that said, let's get straight to the video to keep this as fast and as informative as possible. Let's first start with the general tab. First thing we want to do is make sure that the camera shake is set to the minimum value at 50%. I personally like to disable the hints for controls, less clutter on the screen, and disable share usage data to decrease the network output. In display under video, we want to make sure that we are playing in full screen mode at your highest refresh rate for your monitor. For me, it's 144, but just check whatever your monitor is, match that. I personally like to play at 89 FOV for both infantry and vehicle. ADS field of view, I personally like this on. This is kind of personal preference as well. Brightness, you want to make sure that this is set to your preference, and it will be a little different depending on your monitor settings. I prefer around 60 with my monitor. And just copy the rest of my settings here. Chromatic, aberration, film grain, vignette, and lens distortion all off. Under the graphics preset, we want to make sure that everything here is low. Mesh quality, you'll get a frame boost if you keep it to low, but if your computer can handle it, it might be worth it to put to ultra. It gives you that little bit of extra visibility, but it depends on where you're sitting for FPS. After tweaking with it for a little bit, I decided to run it on low. Down in the advanced tab, we want to make sure that dynamic resolution scale is set to off, DLSS off, ray trace ambient occlusion off, NVIDIA reflex low latency. If you have it, turn it to enabled plus boost. This helps with input. Future frame rendering, we would like to put that to on. You do lose the slightest amount of input, but with the frames that you're getting, it's going to be a good trade-off. So keep this one on. Vertical sync, I would select this as off. Under HUD general, we'll turn off HUD motion and enable the kill log. You won't be necessarily interested in the kills on an entire map, especially with 128 players. Having this set to nearby helps with decision making. For crosshairs, there is one really important one. If you want to disable crosshair projection, this will make sure that your crosshair is static in the center of your screen regardless of what's happening in the game. I personally like to use a thin crosshair thickness. This comes down to personal preference again, but I find it really helps with seeing long distance targets in your crosshair. Experiment with this one. As for your colors, they're all personal preference as well. I use a red crosshair color because I feel like it's the most visible to me. A white hit color, a yellow headshot color, and a green kill color. Blue armor hit indicator as well. I find turning off damage based shape provides a more pleasant hit marker, but feel free to experiment with this one on your own. I also recommend enabling the armor broken hit indicator as it's especially useful. Under minimap, there's not really too much to really edit here, but what I would recommend is maxing out the minimap view distance for air vehicles, and the rest are really preference based depending on what type of playstyle you have. I set my foot to 80 and ground vehicles to 120. Under sound, adjust your master volume based on your preference, but for best awareness, I personally prefer to turn down the music volume to 0 and the game announcer volume to 80 and keep the sound effects at 100%. Under configuration, I find stereo gives the best sound. I use the Pro G50mm settings, even though I don't have that headset, I just find the sound profile really nice. You can play around here with what you like best, but this seems to be the best one that I've found so far. Under mouse and keyboard, I highly recommend enabling most raw input here, especially if you're used to specific DPIs or sensitivities in most settings. We'll get into this one in another video of how to set up your sensitivity across everything to be the same, but for now I would enable this to help with muscle memory. Under mouse and keyboard on foot, most of these settings here are personal preference. However, I'll speak to the ones that will increase your gameplay performance. I'm currently running with a 1600 DPI on my Logitech G305 with these sensitivity settings here. I've matched my soldier mouse aim sensitivity to the aim trainer that I use along with any other games I've played, so these settings remain the same across the whole board. This really helps with building muscle memory. Again, field of view is a personal preference, but top players typically run around this mark upwards to the top max possible setting. Essentially all this does is increase your view so that you can better see enemies from left to right. I would recommend turning uniform soldier aiming on with a coefficient of 0. I find this works really nice. There is a lot of debate here on what's best, but I will link a video below that explains it really well. Using a coefficient of 0 here has really helped me with my muscle memory. You'll find that 133% here is heavily used in COD or CSGO and natively Battlefield, but 100% is normal in Valorant as well. So it does depend on what you are used to, but again, I'll link the video below explaining why I prefer 0%. Here are the settings I use for vehicles. I use the following mouse aim sensitivity with a max FOV here. The rest are generally preference, so feel free to play around. I find setting aircraft control sensitivity to 100 really helps. I would recommend turning motion blur to 0 and HUD motion to off, as well as camera shake amount to 50. Again, keep crosshair projection on off. You'll notice that these are in multiple places along the settings. Just make sure to adjust them in every spot just to be safe. For keybinds, I run all default here. These are generally preference. There is only one change that I made here, and that's to my crouch keybind with the left mouse button and my gadget to middle mouse scroll. This really helps if you're trying to maximize score per minute, if you're trying to throw supplies, that sort of thing. It does take a little bit to get used to, but I find it is quite nice. And now for some PC settings. Go to your NVIDIA control panel. I right click on my desktop and left click it here. You might have to search for it if you do not have it. On the top left hand side, click on manage 3D settings, click on program settings and click add. If you do not see Battlefield 2042 on this list, just click browse. We'll locate the game here to where we installed it. Once you find the exe here, click open, and most of these options will now say global settings. That's exactly what you want. Now click on global settings tab and copy my settings here. I'll slowly scroll down. Feel free to pause and copy my settings. Under change resolution, ensure this is your max resolution and ensure that your refresh rate is maxed here too. I also like to use NVIDIA color settings here, so feel free to copy my settings. Under adjust desktop color settings, I like to run with between 70 to 80% digital vibrance. I feel like this allows me to see enemy players and spot a bit easier too. Under adjust desktop size and position, ensure that you have no scaling selected and perform scaling on displays. I run without stretching my resolution, and you likely do too unless you have a custom setup and you know what you're doing, so this will likely work best for you too. Under adjust video color settings, select your monitor and then with the video settings and under advanced, then select full dynamic range. There's a couple of tweaks to Origin that you can make as well to improve your performance. Go to Origin, Application Settings. Under Notifications, disable notifications and sounds for everything here. I find the notification sounds and pop-ups really distracting from the gameplay. Under Origin In-Game, enable Origin In-Game. Here we will enable the FPS counter in the top right. This is personal preference, but I really like seeing if I'm getting enough frames or if I need to make any more adjustments. And there you guys have it, my ultimate FPS guide for Battlefield 2042. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you let me know of your results, questions, and suggestions for more content in that comment section down below. It's always great to see what you guys have to say in the comment section down below, and it's great to see the discussions. If you guys enjoyed this video and are happy with the results, a like on this video would be deeply appreciated, as it helps me out a ton, alongside considering subscribing to the channel and pressing that bell notification if you do enjoy content like this and wish to stay instantly updated when I upload. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this video, guys. Hopefully it has been worth it and you're more than happy with the results. See you next time.